Okay. I'm James Moore. This is speech number 2 on getting education. This is my little audience I have here tonight. My other one's in bed, so it's just going to be the three of us. Here goes nothing. So 6 years ago, I began my career in the water and sewer industry, and I enjoyed the work, but I was only a laborer at the time. And so I knew that I was going to have to advance my career if I ever wanted to get out of the ditch. And so the sky was the limit in this field, and I could see that going in because water is going to be, a huge part of our life from here on out, especially fresh water. I mean, it's kind of a scarcity in a lot of parts of the world, and even parts of our own country. And so it's definitely something that you can advance in and that you can certainly make a career out of. And there was basically only one option for me, which was to further my education so that I could advance myself in this career. Between watching my wife and many others that I'd met along the way, I knew that this was the only thing for me to do, was go ahead and continue, because like I say, I enjoyed the field and I knew that's where I wanted to be. Between that and just hearing some of the numbers, it just kind of added up to being able to get an education would advance my career. And so there was a lot of work, money, and time to be spent, but like I say, that was the only logical thing for me to do. So over the last 10 years, I've watched my wife succeed in her field. She has a BSN from Texas Tech, and she's basically risen to the top, and just probably the last 6 or 7 years, since she's had her degree. Once she first got out of school, she was working in the ER over there at Hendricks, and after about 3 years, she'd already become the charge nurse, which was basically in charge of the entire emergency room floor there. And so that was very impressive in itself, and that's kind of what got the ball rolling for me when I started to see it adding up there. So she went on to get her bachelor's degree, like I said, from Texas Tech, and they were so impressed with her while she was going to school there that they had offered her a job to come start doing their clinicals for them, but she had to have her bachelor's degree before she could do so. So as soon as she got out of school, she started working for them and doing that. So a little time went on, she got another offer from the state that had some pretty good benefits, and so she went ahead and took that because our family was desperately needing those sorts of things at the time. And it kind of provided year-round work for her, as opposed to being in a classroom where she was off in the off season, or the summertime or what have you. So this was, like I said, this was year-round, and she was also able to really continue her advancement with that. So she's still there today thanks to her education. And another thing I mentioned earlier, there was a lot of people that I met along the way that through some of the classes I've taken with my licensing through TCEQ and also TEACS, which is, if you're not familiar, is the Texas Commission on Environmental Quality, and then TEACS is the Texas Engineering Extension from A&M University. They do a lot of work. They're kind of hand in hand as far as the educational aspect goes. But like I say, I've taken a lot of classes with them to get the licenses that I have. And so meeting with them and hearing their personal stories and a lot of their experiences have kind of helped me also come to the conclusion that I needed to go ahead and try to further my education. So one of the great things that's really appealing about that is they get to travel. They see a lot of different infrastructure around the state, and they meet lots of new people, and they get pretty decent money for doing it. Not only that, but a lot of them do consulting part-time, in their off time when they're not doing classes. So they meet tons of new people, have just opportunity is like I say, the sky is the limit as far as the opportunity goes. And so I was working for the city, like I said, before I began working for the contractor that I'm with now. And I mean, they were great. They have all the potential in the world, but I mean, the pay was just not there, where I wanted to be. And so I knew that I had the capability, but the degree would kind of help set me apart. So I mentioned TCEQ and TEKS earlier. They only hire people with a college education. And in fact, the licenses that I have that they provide, they don't even require them for the instructors. You just have to know the material, and they want you to do it their way. You don't even have to be licensed because you're not working hands-on with the operational aspect of the water industry. And so again, the degrees are going to pay a lot more. There was a 2015 study that was done on a Social Security aspect that found that people with a bachelor's degree earned almost $1 million more in their lifetime than people without a degree at all. And that was from work.com. Another one that I found was from answers.com, and they said it basically equates to about $45,000 a year. And that's going to be, in some cases, bachelor's, but a lot of times they were showing a master's degree is what I found on that. So bottom line, it only makes sense, to get an education this day and age. Another study that I found was from 2016 that showed 79% of the workforce that has a college education is able to work full-time, as opposed to 69% of people in the workforce that have a high school diploma that were working full-time. So that basically tells you there's 20% of college graduates that work part-time, and the rest of them are all full-time. So it's a little higher versus the 30% of high school diplomas. And so those sort of things are pretty important, especially if you have a family and things like that. They also, in general, have better benefits. They offer more things, kind of health benefits, medical, dental, things like that, for people with an education. So in conclusion, all things considered, getting a degree in my field will help set me apart and give me the edge I need to succeed. The licensing and experience that I already have in conjunction with an education, I feel like will make me kind of a triple threat, and hopefully that'll give me a very bright future. So that concludes my speech. Have a good day.